again, if you are considering relocating or moving to the Southwest Florida market, anywhere from Tampa all the way down to Marco Island or Naples or the Everglades, you are in the right place. We're going to continue with our theme of providing you little nuggets and gems of information about places and things that you may not know about our local market right now. And today, I am enjoying being on the Sanibel Causeway for the first time in quite a long time. Unfortunately, this particular place where I am standing right now took on rather devastating damage during Hurricane Ian in 2022. So this was September of 22. I am standing here today and it is now May of 2025. And the causeway has been rehabilitated and it is finally at this moment reopened to the public to come and park and hang out in this awesome location. So this is a strip of land comprised of a couple of bridges and some beach areas connecting the Fort Myers area with Sanibel Island and ultimately out to Captiva. Looking behind me right now, we're going to be essentially looking north. So what you're seeing behind me is a southern end of Pine Island, and if we look a little bit this way, we're heading more to the east. We're looking back toward Fort Myers. I am on the north side of the causeway right at the moment. If I were to walk across the street here, where you're probably seeing some traffic behind me, we'd be looking in a more southerly direction, and you would be able to kind of see the outskirts and some buildings from Fort Myers Beach and beyond down toward Estero and Bonita Springs. Had a little time to get out here, had a friend in town, and recently heard that there was parking and access to the public here for the first time in a couple of years. I personally had been over the bridge and through this causeway area a couple of times throughout the summer of 2024 for a couple of things I was helping a buddy with out on Sanibel. So I was driving by very early in the morning most days when the contractors and the backhoes and the boulder movers and everything else were out here with a restoration project that was getting close to completion, you know, almost 3 years later, from the standpoint of when the impacts and the devastation happened here on this causeway. If you had paid attention to the news or seen any headline stories after Hurricane Ian in September of 2022, there were parts of this causeway that were washed out and it was essentially impassable for a brief period of time until some temporary repairs were made to allow contractors and other, medical personnel and emergency responders to be able to get out to the island. That hurricane was arguably the worst that has ever impacted this local immediate area. But this is a very, very unique and cool little place to come and hang out and spend a day. If you look at what's going on down on Fort Myers Beach, which is still recovering and rebuilding from the hurricane, whether it's the summer season, which is our slow season, or even in the winter months, which is our technical tourist season and busier season, the parking pricing down on Fort Myers Beach, you're typically going to look at, and it varies depending on the location, but $20, maybe $30 a day. If you're talking about July or August, which is really kind of the slowest time for us here locally down on the beach, you might find some all-day parking for $10. There are some access points where you can pay by the hour at a meter. But when you look at what it costs to come out here as it stands right at the moment, again, it is May of 2025, and right now, the only expense to come out and enjoy this beauty is $6 to get over this bridge that you see in the background over here, which is the main bridge to the Sanibel Causeway leaving Fort Myers. So the toll currently is $6. So when you compare that to the cost of parking at the beach and the fact that, you can look down here and see that this is hardly an overcrowded situation from being able to come out and enjoy yourself. When we first got out here this morning, there was some schools of bait boiling up and popping out around in the water, and we hadn't been out to the beach or the causeway in quite some time after the recent unfortunate storms that we've dealt with in this area. And I immediately started throwing a line, because after all, I am the fish and finance guy, and hooked up and brought in a little, probably 18-inch Spanish mackerel. And it's been quite a while since I caught one of them. Trout and snook and tarpon, redfish, black drum, a lot of those are all over around these parts. And with where I typically fish or wet a line, those are typically what you're going to see in terms of my selfies with our underwater creatures. But as far as being out here in this kind of more open and green water, yeah, the Spanish mackerel were running through the area, and brought one of them in, and it'd been a good number of years, so it was kind of a fun little catch just for something different. But right over here, off to my left as you're looking at the camera, this is Sanibel Island, and looking out here up to the north, way up that direction, is where you're eventually going to get to the northern tip of Sanibel, and that is going to ultimately then connect with Captiva. I may try to get over to the south side of the causeway before we head out of here today, and just kind of share the view from over there. But they've done an absolutely wonderful job with the restoration of this causeway. The beaches are very nice, they're white, they're sandy. With some of this rehab and stabilization, there is you know, some thick shelling, if you will, within the sand itself. So it's certainly not like being up in the you know, kind of the Tampa, Treasure Island area, and maybe even in the Sarasota and Venice area, where the sand is literally like salt or sugar. But with what this place looked like just a couple of years ago, they've done a remarkable job, and it's very nice to finally be out here again and having this view and a little bit of a relaxing afternoon with a place that unfortunately was essentially traumatized when Hurricane Ian ripped through here. We'll be back with some more footage here before too long. Again, I will try to see if I can get over to the south side of the causeway just to give you a view from what things look like over there on the other side of the traffic. And until then, you make it a great day out there. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, forward this with anybody that you may know that is looking at relocating to the Southwest Florida market. All right, so I made my way across the causeway here, walked across the street where I was filming earlier. The previous segment of the video was right over there. Again, this is looking north with this view right at the moment, and that is the northern direction, if you will, for Sanibel Island leading up to Captiva. Again, St. James City here in my background. Cape Coral way up in that corner there, kind of hard to see from here, and then into Fort Myers. You got a better view of the main Sanibel Causeway Bridge from over on this south side of the causeway. So that is here right behind me, and that is the main bridge. On the other end of that bridge is where the toll plaza is. Used to be manned by human beings prior to COVID and the whole pandemic. That is now all automated. So whether you have a transponder on your car, or whether you just go through and let them read your license plate, you'll then get a bill in the mail. So there are no human beings manning the toll booth anymore. But over here on this southern side of the causeway, we are now looking at essentially South Fort Myers down like the McGregor Boulevard corridor, San Carlos Boulevard, which is down in the Fort Myers Beach Range, which is off in this direction, and then looking way down and beyond. I'm not sure exactly what we're looking at there, but I think those high rises directly behind me at this point, that's probably getting into either Estero or Bonita Springs. The cool thing from this side of the causeway, the lighthouse on the very southern tip of Sanibel should be in your view right now. And during Hurricane Ian, it was pretty remarkable. It lost one of its legs. So that lighthouse made it through Hurricane Ian, which was one of the, it was undoubtedly the worst storm that I think most of us have ever been through. It was an enormously large storm. and it was so slow moving that each half of that storm, depending on exactly where you were relative to the storm making landfall, us personally at home, we were probably 4 to 5 hours on each half of that storm. And with the winds that were part of that and the intensity of that storm, it was literally like being in a tornado for probably close to 9 to 10 hours. But that lighthouse made it through that storm. It did lose one of its legs, but it did maintain its ability to be upright and serve its purpose. That has been restored and repaired as of this point. So again, this is the very southern tip of Sanibel here, and this is essentially looking out straight into the Gulf of Mexico. So looking the other way, north, this is essentially the Caloosahatchee River when you start getting up into this direction that divides Fort Myers and Cape Coral. And this water body does run all the way to the east coast of Florida. So if you were to get in a sailboat or a kayak, if you're very fit and in shape, you could truly get to Lake Okeechobee and beyond and end up over on the Intercoastal Waterway and ultimately the Atlantic Ocean if you just hopped in your vessel of choice and headed in that direction. So again, looking south here, main Sanibel Causeway that way. Some of the cool things about being out here in this particular area, it's very easy to get to for whether it's a full day trip or if you just want to come out here for a couple of hours. I know there's a lady that's sitting just a few feet down from us. She pulled in shortly after we pulled in and parked and kind of got set up. And, you know, she just had her drink of choice, whatever might be in her cup, and sat down with a chair and is reading a book. And, you know, if you think you made your latte or your coffee or your beverage of choice at home and brought it with you, you know, for $6, which is essentially probably less than what you might even pay in a local coffee shop, you come over the causeway, sit down, park yourself here, read your book, and enjoy a beautiful day. You know, one of the cons, yeah, you are right here next to the road, and there is a little bit of road traffic noise, but with how close these vehicles are to where you're actually sitting, the road noise is remarkably quiet when you just look at the fact that, you know, here are a bunch of cars coming off of Sanibel right now. You would think it'd be noisier, but it's really not that bad. I don't know what's being picked up. This isn't my normal recording setup, so between any wind or breeze or road noise, I apologize. I'll do my best to edit that down to a modest level where hopefully it's not annoying. But it is a beautiful location to come and just spend some time by yourself and get away, or bring your family. Especially if you want to come just for a couple of hours, maybe come out here, watch the sunset. It is absolutely gorgeous when you're looking out in this general westerly direction when the sun is going down. And it's an area that, from the standpoint of the way the traffic flows down in this part of Lee County, kind of being near Fort Myers Beach, which again is off in this general direction here, you typically are not getting involved with the Fort Myers Beach traffic per se. Now, if you're coming out here during the week and you're trying to come or go during, let's say, rush hour, you might have a little bit of slowdown of traffic, but it's not horrible. And it's a very easy onto this little causeway area, and there are multiple bridges. So there's the bridge right there, which is closest to Sanibel Island. Then there is another bridge here, which I'll turn around and you can see these cars right here just past that boat. There's another connector bridge there, and then there is the main elevated bridge to allow larger vessels and commercial boats to get in and out of this area without needing a drawbridge. So it's a great place to come and spend a little time by yourself with the family. Come down here for a little picnic with, you know, the significant other, and you know, watch the sunset. I was doing some fishing earlier, and I'm going to be doing a little bit more again here for a couple of minutes, just because I am here on the other side of the causeway right now, and I see a couple of little pockets of grass. And even though it's mid-afternoon and absolutely less than ideal for doing some fishing with the sun being directly overhead. There are some grass shadows in here, and you just never know what may be hanging out in these shallow flats. And you may go out with the best of intentions to catch this or catch that or catch whatever you're looking for. And when it comes to fishing, a lot of times you're surprised at what ends up on the other end of the line. Don't want to go on too long with this, but just wanted to give you a view here from the other side of the causeway. So again, we're standing on the southern side of the causeway. It has been beautifully rehabilitated after the hurricanes. And if you are in the area, even if you're not thinking about moving here, but you're just here vacationing, or you've got some family or friends in the area, you know, keep it on your radar. It's a quick and easy and affordable little way to kind of just get out for a few hours, see some beautiful water. Never know what might be swimming by out here, whether you're doing lure baits and strategic fishing, or whether you just want to soak a bait out in the water. You know, not much to see, but you could throw on a mask and fins and do some snorkeling out and about around here. I know earlier when I was on the other side, when we got here this morning, there were two monstrous spadefish just kind of hanging out within a couple of feet of the shoreline, just hanging out together and sitting there. And I walked up and I was probably within 2 feet of them. So it's just, you know, kind of like SeaWorld in your backyard. When you're just out here, you never know what you're going to see or what you're going to experience. With that being said, we'll let you get back to your day. Thanks a bunch for watching. We'll look forward to seeing you again. And as always, if you have any questions about anything in this entire region of the Southwest Florida market, please don't hesitate to reach out. Give me a call, DM me, shoot me a message. More than happy to give you any information that you may need if you are considering this general area as a possible destination for you and your family at some point in the future. Until next time, we'll see you again. Thanks for watching. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon. The sun is directly overhead, which, you know, out in the open green water here, you never know what might be swimming by, but in a broad and general sense, it is not the best time of day to be seeing what you can find in regard to something on the other end of your line. But with that being said, I am taking a little walk to see what the options look like down here to maybe find some shade or some structure, because you just never know what might be lurking down there under the sea. It's a it's a highly enjoyable recreation, but my goodness, if you are not an optimist by nature, just within the core of your DNA and genetics, I don't know if fishing is necessarily the best pastime for you. We'll see what happens. I'm getting close here, and this time of day, down in the depths, down in the shadows, down here near the structure of these bridge pilings and stuff, you never know what may happen. If anything good happens that's worthy of hitting the record button again, we'll be back with you. If you are still here and you are watching this right now, thank you so much for watching. At any point, if you have any questions about anything pertaining to Florida, or primarily and especially the Southwest Florida market, please don't hesitate to reach out. Send me an email, shoot me a DM, send me a text. Hit my link, schedule a Zoom. I want to help you in any way that I can if you are moving or relocating or considering relocating to this area. I'll look forward to seeing you in future videos, and please feel free to share this with anyone else that you know that may be looking to head this direction. I want to help you in any way that I can, and I'll look forward to doing so when we connect. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next one.